this interview. Awesome, Fuzz. Thank you so much for joining. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Honestly, let's just jump right into it, okay? So you guys are heading on to your 10th season, which is very exciting. But not only is it your 10th season, it's also going to be your 100th renovation, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. Yeah. So we have just completed vehicle number 100. So we went out with a bit of a splash on that one, and we went electric. Some people will say that's dancing with the devil, but I think it's more about adding a bit of difference, really, having different things on the go, and new stuff being around. So we're using the new technology, and we've restored another car that wouldn't have been restored ordinarily. So actually, that's an extra classic on the road, no matter what it's powered by. It could be powered by steam. It would still be an extra.
Well, that's absolutely incredible. Then actually tell us a little bit more about season 10, because I know we've also got some guest celebrities coming on. We've got David Beckham, Sir Paul McCartney, some really big names. That's very exciting. So can you tell us, just from a personal point of view, what can we look forward to in season 10?
Well, do you like rust? Because we've got lots of rust happening, lots of corrosion, lots of, I've got no hair left to pull out anymore. So that's all completely gone. But we've got lots of the stuff that we do well, which is, I guess putting people's sort of dreams back on track, really, as far as their cars are concerned. We've got some great nominees who've really, some of them have been through the mill, some of them have just been great people, and we've got some great stories there, but also, we've got the celebrities, we've got the vehicles, we've got everything, absolutely everything this series, even a fire engine. It's not quite a double-decker bus, but we're getting there. We're moving in the right direction as far as I'm concerned.
So one thing you said there really hit me, and it's a part of the show I've always enjoyed, and it's kind of like bringing people's dreams to life. You're really allowing people to live out something that they've desired, that they've craved for. In many ways, you're fulfilling people's entire dreams, bringing those dreams to life. How does that feel for you?
Well, for us as a complete team, we kind of get stuck into the car, really, to start with, and so we're kind of thinking about that. So we've got a timeline to work to, and we've got a deadline, because we've got the reveal's got to happen. When the reveal happens, there's no two ways about it. I mean, occasionally, very early on in the process, we might be able to delay it a little bit if we find that the car is worse than we thought, or obtaining parts are more difficult and stuff like that. But generally, we've got that deadline, and so we're kind of concentrating on that more than anything else in the workshop, at least. And then, then when it comes to the day that we reveal the car to its owner, that's when we get chance to sort of really connect with, with what they've gone through, what they've done, the sort of, and their lives. But we only get that sort of connection, that direct connection with them for 2 or 3 hours or something like that, because everything is set up, everything is so slick that it's like bam, 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 there's your car. And then suddenly, Tim's interviewing them, the cameras are in their faces. A couple of hours after that, we're gone, and they're just kind of left standing there. So we only get that 2 hours of connection. But then when we watch the show back, in the same way as anybody else watching the show, that's when it hits. That's when the heartstrings are pulled, and that's when the emotion really comes into it.
That's incredible. And you know what? It's a car show at the end of the day, which is great. So I just have to ask you, let's jump through some car questions. Your favorite car you've worked on the show?
Okay, it's the AC Asika that we did in Series 4. So if I woke up and had the choice of any one of the cars that we've done in all of those 100 shows. So if I could have any one of those vehicles, it would be the AC Seeker that we did in Series 4. I mean, I love those cars, hand built, beautiful. Sort of aircraft engineers built these beautiful cars, in the 1950s, wonderful little GTs. And, the whole thing about them is that, this sort of post-Second World War sort of massive skills that was around, people were very, very skilled. So they could put their hands to so many things. And that's what, that's what they did. So AC made the AC Seeker, and the open top one, the Roadster, was the AC Ace, and the AC Ace was beefed up to make into the AC Cobra. But I prefer the sort of original versions, so the Seeker and the Ace. So, but if I could have that AC Seeker, is this going to be Car S.O.S? Is it out there now? Go on, tell me it is.
Unfortunately not.
Okay, right.
So then I just have to say, I was rewatching a few of your episodes, kind of like in preparation for this interview. And one of my favorite episodes has always been one of the earliest ones. It was with the VW Wizard. Because I love beach buggies and anything to do with VW. So I rewatched that episode with the Wizard. But my word, that car was just banged up. It was beaten. That was a scary looking car. I wouldn't trust it. So going into this interview, I was always wondering, like, Flip, what was the hardest car you've ever actually worked on? Like, what really just made you think, Flip, we actually can't save this car?
Well, what I will say is a number of cars come to mind, but actually the hardest car has been from this series, but you'll hardly see any of the trouble that it gave us. And it was the VW Corrado. So it was a VW, if you like your V-dubs, but the Corrado is a 1992 Corrado. And when we picked it up, a guy came over to me, who had a garage across the way from where this was being stored, the car was being stored. And he said, he took me to one side. He said, if I were you, I'd rewire that car. And there are kilometers, miles, whatever you want to call them, of wiring in a VW Corrado from 1992. Lots and lots of it. And I just thought, man, I'm not going to get into that. That's going to be a nightmare. I knew that the body on the car looked bad, but it wasn't as corroded as it could be. So I was looking for this car to be a nice, easy win as far as we were concerned. Because normally we'll pick up one really rough car, and then the next car we try and give ourselves a little bit of a break, so that we don't have lots and lots of really tough jobs going on at one time. This car, the VW Corrado, turned out, that guy coming up to me, he was trying to do me a favor, because what happened was, next thing I knew, the next day, I was taking the driver's door off, and they have the VW Corrados and that sort of era, and sort of most modern cars have like a plug that you can disconnect on the door, so you can unbolt the door, take the door off. Somebody had hardwired it all in, so there'd been problems with the central locking and the alarm and all that kind of thing. So they'd hardwired it to make it work somehow, cobbled it together. So they got it kind of working, but not. And then that was the clue. Basically, there were aftermarket immobilizers on it and all kinds of stuff, and it just bit us whatever we tried. So we tried to fit a turbo onto it. The turbo turned out to be too large for the engine. But it was from a kit that was supposed to be bang on right. So the ECU didn't want to talk to it. So the ECU was confused. So eventually we couldn't get this engine to run right. So we thought, right, okay, we're going to swap the engine out. So we found some Corrado fans, and they had an engine sitting in a subframe from another car that we could bang straight in, so that we didn't have to mess about with, cutting into things. So we bought this other engine. They had the 1.8 that the car had arrived with, and so we banged that in. And of course, the ECU was already confused because of what it had in before, so it became even more confused, and it wouldn't run. So we got another ECU for it. Then we found loads of other wiring trouble. Basically, what happened was we'd drive it for 100 miles, having done it, and everything would be fine. Give it back to the owner. You'd drive it 5 miles down the road, it would conk out again. So we'd have it back, do the same again, work, drive it for 100 miles, it's fine again. He'd have it back again. It went on for 6 months. It was the most terrible car that I've ever taken on. And if anybody ever tells me you want to rewire that car, I'm going to do it next time. That's for sure.
Flip, that is, you said 6 months. 6 months fitted into one episode.
Yeah, well, what happened was we gave him the car back because we gave him the car back when it was running okay. And then, well, it was running on the morning. Went to fire it up on the day. Man, it didn't go. So, you know, it was just like that. It's just one of those. Occasionally we get a car that's bad like that. Occasionally there are cars that bite you on the backside, and that was one. It would have been so much easier to have gone out and bought a perfect one and said, look, what color do you want it? We'll paint it for you, whatever color you like. There it is. It would have been quicker. It would have been cheaper. It just would have been a better thing to do.
Well, Fuzz, thank you so much for joining me today. I really, truly do appreciate it. I'm incredibly excited to watch season 10, and it really looks to be, honestly, one of the best seasons so far, actually. So thank you so much for letting me interview you.
Well, no, that's a pleasure, and thanks for the questions, Caleb, and a pleasure talking to you. And I hope everybody out there really enjoys it.
What's up, my dudes? Today we're going to be reviewing this beach buggy owned by my friend Caleb Janssens. Just going to take it for a ride up the road and see what it's all about. Let's go.
The steering wheel has got so much free roam. So for whatever reason, it's just decided that its right is its neutral. So when you actually